Asking 911.
Yes. My name's Wayne Milam, and my daughter, I just found her dead.
How old's your daughter?
13 months.
Thank you, Mark. An East Texas couple is behind bars tonight, accused of beating a 13-month-old baby to death.
Tuesday morning at a home near Lake Cherokee off County Road 2125, authorities say they found the baby severely beaten by a hammer and other objects.
A Rusk County man will receive the death sentence for beating a toddler to death. 30-year-old Blaine Milam's death sentence is set for January of next year. Now, Milam was found guilty for the December 2008 sexual assault and beating death of 13-month-old Amora Carson.
LM rang 911 in a right old state, his heart racing with anguish as he reported finding his 13-month-old little nipper dead. He fought to keep his emotions in check while waiting for the emergency services to arrive, each minute feeling like an eternity. When the authorities arrived at the Tatum home, they were met with a scene of utter horror. A badly injured baby girl lay motionless on the floor, her tiny frame showing signs of horrific violence. As the investigation unfolded, detectives unraveled a complex web of secrets and deceit that led them down a chilling path of discovery. The mother's claims of demonic possession and self-inflicted wounds only added to the sense of dread and incredulity. The evidence painted a harrowing picture. The child's body had been covered in bite marks, extending from her toes to her chin, including her mouth and nose. This haunting image would stay with the investigators forever, a grim reminder of the evil that existed in the world. December 2nd, 2008 started like any ordinary day, but it turned into a day of unimaginable sorrow, leaving a lasting impact on the community and the investigators who witnessed the unthinkable. As investigators delved further into the case, they stumbled upon a startling revelation. Jessica had a troubling history marked by child endangerment allegations. Although these charges had been dismissed, the recurring nature of her behavior had raised significant concerns. Arlene, the biological father of Amora, arrived in Tatum, Texas, where he faced a blend of sympathy and skepticism. His relationship with Jessica had been intricate, leading investigators to ponder whether he had possessed crucial information that could have illuminated the truth. Concurrently, forensic analysis uncovered a disturbing fact. The bite marks found on Amora's body did not correspond to any known human dental records. This revelation ignited a debate among specialists, with some suggesting the possibility of an animal attack. As the inquiry progressed, a shadowy figure emerged. A former acquaintance of Jessica stepped forward, alleging to have witnessed a troubling event involving Jessica and Amora. While the testimony had appeared credible, the witness's intentions had remained ambiguous. With each new development, the case had become increasingly complex. Authorities had been in a race against time to uncover the truth, yet the identity of the perpetrator had lingered as a perplexing mystery. The community of Tatum, Texas, had held its breath, yearning for justice for the tragically lost, innocent life. Texas Ranger Kenny Ray's gaze had sharpened as he observed Mam's demeanor. He had perceived a dissonance between her statements and actions, suggesting she had been deceiving. Sergeant Amber Rogers had approached with a serious expression, presenting Ranger Ray with a file that contained the initial forensic report. The results had been alarmingly incongruous. The injuries Amora had sustained had not aligned with Mam's narrative. Ranger Ray's scrutiny of Mam had deepened, and his determination to reveal the truth has remained unwavering. The investigation had reached a pivotal moment where every detail had been crucial. With renewed purpose, Ranger Ray and Sergeant Rogers had begun meticulously reviewing the evidence, searching for any discrepancies that could have potentially unraveled the case. The atmosphere had been tense, broken only by the sound of papers being shuffled and the gentle hum of the patrol car's engine. Ranger Kenny Ray had kept his gaze fixed on Jessica, his expression unreadable, like a bloke who had kept his cards close to his chest. He had noticed a slight change in her behavior, a hint of discomfort that had lurked beneath her composed exterior, like a rabbit that had been caught in the headlights. Jessica's hands had moved about restlessly in her lap, her eyes darting towards the door, like a bird that had been looking for an escape route. Her voice had trembled as she spoke, her words tinged with a sense of urgent desperation, like a drowning person who'd been clinging to a lifeline. Ranger Ray's eyes had narrowed, his concentration deepening, like a detective who'd been puzzling over the evidence. He had spotted a subtle inconsistency in her account, a strand of falsehood that had been interwoven within her statements, like a dodgy thread in a tapestry. With a discreet nod, he had communicated with Sergeant Rogers, his partner, like two old mates who had shared a secret. They had exchanged a mutual understanding through their solemn expressions, like two people who had known the score. The investigation had reached a pivotal moment, and every detail had been of the utmost importance, like finding the last piece of a jigsaw puzzle. Jessica's unpredictable conduct and implausible justifications had aroused the suspicions of the investigators, who had perceived a frantic effort to hide the reality. As law enforcement had tightened their grip, both Jessica and Mam had been promptly apprehended and brought to the sheriff's office for a thorough interrogation. The sterile environment of the interrogation room had seemed to constrict around Mam as the evidence against him had accumulated. Ranger Ray's sharp intuition had picked up on the slightest indication of guilt in Mam's gaze, revealing a fissure in his mask of innocence. The atmosphere had been thick with tension as the investigators had endeavored to disentangle the complex threads of the case. In the shadows, the truth had lingered, patiently awaiting revelation, its secrets softly beckoning to those attuned to its whispers. The net was closing in around Mam, and the truth was finally beginning to unfold. The investigation gained significant traction as authorities discovered additional inconsistencies in the alibis of Mam and Jessica. A series of CCTV recordings had documented their movements, creating a compelling narrative of suspicion.
Shop, he had some old tools. Like one of them was an old electric chainsaw that he was trying to pawn for money. Now there's conflicting stories over why they were doing that, whether they were on the run or whether they were trying to get money for the alleged exorcism or things like that.
At Walmart, their purchases had raised eyebrows, whilst footage from the gas station had revealed their visibly anxious behavior. Each revelation had further complicated the case, suggesting a deliberate effort to hide their actions. Teresa Shea's account of Mam's urgent phone call had added further credibility to the accumulating evidence. The delay in notifying the authorities about Amora's death had now appeared to be a calculated maneuver to obscure the facts. The autopsy report, with its harrowing details, had reinforced the investigators' beliefs. Amora's delicate body had endured horrific trauma, with her small skull fractured by multiple strikes. The medical examiner's conclusions had dispelled any remaining uncertainties. This had been a brutal crime. As the investigation had closed in on Mam and Jessica, the shadows of their concealed truths had begun to emerge, revealing the chilling reality. The net had been closing in around them, and their sinister secrets had finally started to unravel. Jessica's transformation had been profoundly noticeable. Once a fashionable and sociable individual, she had been diminished to a mere shadow of her former self due to Mam's domineering behavior. Her appearance had suffered neglect, and the vibrancy she once possessed had faded away. As Mam's control had intensified, Jessica had found herself increasingly isolated. She had severed ties with friends and acquaintances, prompting concern from her family. Whenever they had attempted to visit, Jessica had always had a reason to decline, with Mam lurking ominously in the background. The disparity in Mam's treatment of Jessica compared to Amora had been perplexing. He had exhibited affection and playfulness towards Amora, creating treasured moments together. In stark contrast, his demeanor towards Jessica had been marked by control and violence, driven by jealousy. As time had progressed, the darkness enveloping their lives had deepened. The death of Mam's father in September 2008 appeared to trigger a new wave of violence and manipulation.
After my husband died, it's like she just turned into a different person. But see, she lost her father too, you know, a while before Daniel passed away.
Jessica had felt trapped, while Amora had found herself caught in the turmoil. The investigation had been drawing closer, yet the true magnitude of the horror had only just begun to surface. Authorities had been on the verge of uncovering a complex web of secrets and deceptions that would leave them utterly astonished. The shocking truth was finally beginning to unravel. The Ouija board had unleashed a sinister entity into their lives, leaving Jessica feeling utterly helpless to halt its advance. The flat, which had once served as a refuge, had transformed into a center of supernatural disturbances. As the time progressed, the incidents escalated in severity. Items began to shift independently, and disembodied voices echoed in the gloom. Jessica recognized the urgency of her situation, yet Mam's behavior had grown increasingly unpredictable. He would erupt in anger, his eyes dark as night, and his voice a low, threatening growl. It became clear to Jessica that a demonic presence had seized him, ensnaring her in a waking nightmare. The music box, which had previously represented solace, now felt like a ghostly reminder of their dire circumstances. Its tune reverberated throughout the flat, a chilling lullaby to the darkness that had engulfed them. As they delved further, they unraveled a complex tapestry of secrets and deceit. They understood that the truth lay concealed in the shadows, awaiting discovery. However, the question remained: would they have managed to solve the enigma before time ran out? The clock was ticking, and the darkness was closing in. The exorcism ritual had progressed, with Mam's behavior growing increasingly malevolent. Jessica, still believing in his reassurances, remained unaware of the peril that was unfolding around her. As time elapsed, Amora's cries diminished, and an unsettling stillness enveloped the house. Jessica's instincts finally surged, prompting her to hurry to the back bedroom, where she encountered a sight that would forever haunt her. Amora lay lifeless on the bed, her small frame marred by injuries. Mam loomed over her, his eyes as dark as coal, emanating an indescribable malevolence. In that instant, Jessica comprehended the grave error she had made. The darkness that had overtaken Mam had ravaged their lives, and Amora had borne the ultimate consequence. As the reality struck her, Jessica's world fragmented into countless pieces. She was left to gather the remnants of her broken existence, irrevocably altered by the horrors she had witnessed. The revelation of the manipulated crime scene sent shockwaves through the investigation, and detectives came to the unsettling realization that they had been deceived. The full scope of Mam's malevolence remained concealed, but a thorough examination of the south bedroom uncovered alarming evidence. Blood-stained linens, infant garments, and diapers told a harrowing story of violence and maltreatment. The discovery of Astroglide lubricant alongside blood-stained jeans suggested unspeakable actions, and investigators understood they had unearthed a nefarious scheme with Mam at its core. As the inquiry progressed, authorities began to untangle the intricate web of deceit and domination that had facilitated Mam's offenses. Jessica's involvement in the tragedy remained an enigmatic element, yet to be completely deciphered. The evidence trail led investigators into a grim reality, revealing a disturbing pattern of abuse and exploitation. Amora's innocent life had been extinguished in the shadows. but justice was poised to rise from the gloom. The case would ultimately astonish the nation, igniting outrage and disbelief. The atrocities that transpired in that trailer would leave an indelible mark on the community for years to come. The inquiry revealed a convoluted network of psychological manipulation, with Mam having employed his charisma to exert influence over those in his vicinity. Jessica, who had once been a devoted mother, had found herself ensnared in his web of deceit. Forensic specialists had identified a troubling pattern of behavior, indicating that Mam's actions had stemmed from a profound need for validation. His overwhelming desire for control had engulfed him, propelling him onto a perilous path. As the facts had come to light, investigators had grappled with the underlying motivations that had driven Mam to perpetrate such atrocious acts. What had compelled him to engage in such despicable behavior? Furthermore, how could Jessica have remained by his side? The case had prompted more inquiries than resolutions, leaving investigators to reflect on the complexities of human behavior. The community had been left to confront the repercussions, striving to comprehend the unimaginable. This tragedy had served as a poignant reminder of the perils associated with psychological manipulation and the catastrophic outcomes of unrestrained ambition. The investigation had unveiled a grim reality, one that would linger in the community's consciousness for years to come. Aftermaths. Mam's troubled history had unveiled a disturbing pattern of behavior, revealing a more sinister motivation behind Amora's tragic end. Investigations into his early life had revealed a timid and reclusive individual who had been homeschooled by his father after being withdrawn from school in the 4th grade. This isolated upbringing appeared to have created an environment that had nurtured his malevolent tendencies. As authorities had assembled the evidence, they had uncovered Mam's troubling history of targeting minors. His prior arrests and convictions had painted a grim portrait of a predator lurking in plain sight. The community had been left in disbelief, struggling to come to terms with the reality of Mam's true character. His capacity to deceive and manipulate those around him had enabled his dark urges to thrive, ultimately resulting in catastrophic outcomes. The investigation had probed further into Mam's psychological profile, aiming to comprehend the underlying motivations behind his atrocious actions. Experts had scrutinized his behavior, searching for insights that might have elucidated the unfathomable tragedy that had transpired. The investigation revealed a toxic relationship between Mam and Jessica, characterized by fear, manipulation, and misplaced loyalty. Jessica's troubled history and her belief in communicating with spirits had created an environment of vulnerability, rendering her particularly susceptible to Mam's malevolent influence. As the truth had emerged, it had become evident that their actions had stemmed from a profound evil, independent of external circumstances. The community had been left to confront the harrowing repercussions of their unrestrained impulses. This case had unveiled a chilling reality that would linger in the community's memory for years. It has served as a poignant reminder that malevolence can exist in the most unforeseen places, with consequences that can be catastrophic. The inquiry further explored the psychological profiles of the individuals involved, aiming to uncover the motivations behind their atrocious deeds. Experts had scrutinized their behavior, seeking insights that could elucidate the unfathomable tragedy that had transpired. Trial. The trial marked a poignant moment for the community, a turning point in their collective journey towards healing. As Mam and Jessica faced the consequences of their actions, the town began to rebuild and recover from the devastating impact of Amora's tragic demise. Mam's mother, however, remained resolute in her denial, her maternal instincts clouded by an unshakable conviction in her son's innocence.
Times I cry all the way from Livingston to home.
because I just feel so bad about having to leave him.
Yeah, I'm afraid, because I know he's innocent.
Her profound sorrow stood in stark contrast to the sense of relief felt by the community, a poignant reminder of the complex emotions at play. As time passed, the town's focus shifted towards commemorating Amora's brief yet vibrant existence. Her family found comfort in cherished memories, while the community came together to ensure that her tragic story would never be forgotten.
She was beautiful. We wasn't walking yet, but she was beautiful. Her first words were "Daddy."
In the background, Mam's future remained uncertain. His death sentence a stark reminder of the gravity of his offenses. Yet, his mother's steadfast loyalty prompted contemplation of the intricate nature of humanity and the profound influence of maternal love, a complex and multifaceted emotion that defied easy explanation. With Mam's fate sealed, the community embarked on its path towards healing. The memory of Amora sparked a transformative movement, culminating in the establishment of novel initiatives designed to safeguard vulnerable children. A local support organization, Amora's Angels, was established to provide a haven for families in distress. The community rallied around the cause, steadfast in their determination to prevent another tragedy akin to Amora's. Concurrently, Mam's appeal process progressed gradually, as his legal representatives argued that his mental disabilities warranted a reduced sentence. The final decision remained shrouded in uncertainty, leaving many to question whether true justice had been achieved. As the years elapsed, Amora's legacy continued to inspire constructive change, serving as a poignant reminder of the devastating consequences of child abuse and the vital importance of community vigilance. Ultimately, her tragic fate had a lasting impact, forever changing the community's approach to child welfare. The memory of Amora Carson's tragic demise would remain forever etched in the annals of Russ County's history, serving as a poignant reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked evil. However, in the face of profound adversity, the community's collective spirit refused to succumb to hopelessness, opting instead to channel their grief into a purposeful mission. This cultivated a renewed sense of solidarity and determination as the town moved forward with a steadfast resolve. As the shadows cast by tragedy gradually receded, a radiant sense of hope emerged, accompanied by an unwavering commitment to ensure that Amora's story would never be repeated. In the end, it was not the tragedy that defined them, but their unyielding response to it, a powerful testament to the transformative power of love, resilience, and the indomitable human spirit. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more true crime stories. Share your thoughts on such a heinous crime. Your opinion matters. Like, share, and comment below. Don't forget to hit the notification bell for updates.